Jennifer had survived heartbreak, motherhood, and a demanding job. But nothing prepared her for the moment a stranger walked into a cafe and unknowingly shifted the entire direction of her life. The Tuesday rush at Brewhouse Cafe hummed around Jennifer Hayes like background static, clinking cups, low chatter, milk steamers hissing. But none of it mattered. She sat tucked into the far corner booth, absently smoothing the skirt of her navy dress as she checked her phone for the fourth time. A blind date. She still couldn't believe she'd agreed to this. After 3 years focused entirely on raising her 7-year-old daughter, Amy, and juggling her job as a senior accountant at Sterling Media Corporation, romance felt like a dusty word from a past life. But her best friend, Monica, had begged her to try again. "Jen, he's perfect for you. His name's David. Kind, grounded, works in finance. Just meet him once. You deserve happiness too." Jennifer had almost cancelled twice. The thought of stepping back into the world of dating made her stomach twist. She didn't even know what her type was anymore. The door chimed. A tall man entered, scanning the cafe with warm brown eyes and the kind of smile that softened the world around him. He wasn't flashy, dark jeans, a simple blazer, hair slightly tousled, but he carried an easy confidence that drew attention naturally. His gaze found her. Jennifer's breath caught. He approached her table. "Jennifer." She stood, offering a slightly shaky hand. "David." His smile widened. "It's great to finally meet you. Monica talks about you like you hung the moon." They sat. Conversation flowed with surprising ease. David asked about Amy and listened, really listened, when Jennifer talked about her daughter's obsession with dolphins and her artistic streak. He shared stories from his own childhood, his disastrous attempts at learning to cook Italian food, and his weekend hiking trips. When Jennifer teased, "Let me guess, lots of kitchen fires?" he groaned dramatically. "You have no idea. Last week I somehow burned water. I'm still not sure how." Jennifer laughed, really laughed, a sound she hadn't heard from herself in a long time. The tension she'd carried like armor slowly slipped off her shoulders. 2 hours passed before either of them realized. "I hate to cut this short," David said, checking his watch, "but I've got a meeting across town. Can we do this again? Dinner this weekend?" To her surprise, the answer came easily. "I'd like that." They stepped outside together. David pointed across the street at a sleek black sedan. "That's my ride. My driver's been waiting." Jennifer blinked. "Driver?" He shrugged, slightly embarrassed. "I don't like driving in the city. Too chaotic. Odd, but not impossible. Lots of people used car services." "Thank you for today," she said. "Thank you," he replied warmly. "I'll text you." And he did. That evening. The next morning. The next day. Their conversation slipped into a natural rhythm, jokes, thoughts, little details of their days. He paid attention. Remembered things. Made her laugh during lunch breaks. It felt refreshing. By Friday, Jennifer was nervous excited, a feeling she hadn't felt since before Amy was born. Amy noticed, of course. "Is he a prince?" her daughter asked innocently. Jennifer laughed. "Sweetheart, no. But does he make you smile?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." "Then he's a prince." Children had a way of simplifying the world in ways adults forgot. Just when the evening felt like the start of something gentle and true, a single phone call would tilt Jennifer's world, and reveal that the man who had stolen her smile might also hold the keys to her career. The West Village restaurant glowed like a secret. Low lamps, red wine, and a corner table that felt private despite the soft murmur of other diners. Jennifer smoothed the fabric of her black dress and tried to breathe in a heartbeat that refused to settle. David arrived looking effortless. When he stood, his face lit up in a way that made her forget the nervous tightness in her chest. "You look beautiful," he said simply, as if the words had been waiting for him to speak them. The evening unfurled like a well-loved movie. They traded stories and small confessions over plates of food that neither of them could pronounce without laughing. He asked about Amy with a kind of interest that wasn't performative. He remembered the name of the local art teacher Jennifer had praised during their coffee date. He listened when she sketched out, in fragments, the corner of a dream she'd left folded in the back of her mind. Corporate strategy, broader influence, work that felt creative and consequential. "You should go for it," David said, leaning forward. "You already have the instincts. You just need an opportunity." Those words felt dangerous and thrilling at once. Halfway through dessert, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and a professional edge flickered across his face. Not anger, exactly, but a pressure she recognized from late nights in the office. He stepped aside to answer. Jennifer heard snatches. "Move it, the board's pushing. Contracts need my sign-off." His tone was firm, decisive, not just a man with a job, but someone making hard calls. When he returned, he tried to laugh it off. "Sorry. Work crisis. Nothing to worry about." Jennifer let it go. For the rest of dinner she focused on the easy warmth between them, the way his hand found hers at the table, the private jokes that only they shared. He drove her home, the same black sedan waiting at the curb, and kissed her good night on her stoop. It was gentle, honest, and it lingered in her like the last note of a favorite song. Monday morning arrived with a kind of ordinary rush that can make the extraordinary feel distant. Jennifer dropped Amy at school, answered emails, and knocked through the first part of her day at Sterling Media. Then Patricia, cheeks flushed and eyes bright, intercepted her beside the coffee machine. "Did you hear?" Patricia whispered. "The CEO is on our floor today. David Harrison. They say he hasn't been down here in months." She held up her phone. "Here, Forbes did a profile last year." The image on the screen stopped Jennifer in a way nothing had in years. A sharp-featured man in a perfect suit, standing outside the company's headquarters, the caption naming him as David Harrison, CEO, Billionaire, the man who made the kind of decisions that rippled through budgets and careers. She felt the room tilt. Her brain tried to stitch the pieces into something sensible. Dark jeans at the cafe. A driver. The confident tone on the phone. A man who praised her strategic instincts. David Harrison. The same name that had passed through boardroom conversations and lunchroom gossip. She laughed. It came out hollow. "That can't be him," she said, because denying it felt like the only defense against humiliation. The elevator dinged. People glanced up. Then he was there, stepping out of the corporate lift with a composed, controlled presence that made heads turn. Up close, he was exactly as the articles described, commanding, meticulous, immaculately dressed. Their eyes met. For a heartbeat the CEO's practiced mask slipped. Surprise, then a shadow of panic. Jennifer felt the raw, exposed heat of being caught. The murmurs on the floor swelled like surf hitting the shore. "Ms. Hayes." His voice was steady but strained. "Can we talk for a moment?" She should have demanded privacy. She should have walked away. Instead, something stubborn and tired in her voice said, "Not here." He followed her into the cluster of cubicles anyway, his footsteps quick. Men who ran companies rarely looked nervous. He did now. "Why didn't you tell me who you are?" Jennifer's voice came out sharper than she intended. People around them shifted closer like a tide of curiosity. "I didn't lie," he said quickly. I just wanted to be seen for me." "That's the same as lying," she shot back. "You let me think I was with someone normal. I shared parts of my life with you, my daughter, my fears, and you didn't say anything." The word normal had landed like a small stone in his chest. For a moment he seemed younger, smaller, the CEO title shrinking into the man who had sat across from her and burned water in the attempt to cook. "Please," he said low, "let me explain." But the crowd had already gathered. Pantry whispers, polite coughs, the hum of office life twisted into gossip. Jennifer gathered her things and left, the walk to her car a march under a sky that suddenly felt too small. She sat in the parking garage and let the tears come, not only for the sense of betrayal but for the humiliation. She had been careful, brave even, to let someone into her life. Now every small, confided thing felt like a potential leverage point in someone else's world. Her phone buzzed constantly. Texts, missed calls, a voicemail that pleaded for one chance to explain. She turned it off. For the first time in weeks, the quiet felt like a shield. That evening, she found a bouquet of sunflowers waiting on her desk. No sender name beyond a single initial, D. The card read only, "I remember." Her colleagues gossiped and smiled, but Jennifer couldn't tell whether the gesture warmed her or stung. When she finally listened to the voicemail late that night, his voice was raw and honest in a way it hadn't been at the cafe. "I'm sorry," he said. "I thought if you really knew me, you'd only see me, David, not the title. I was wrong. I should have told you. I'm terrified of losing what we had." Jennifer held the phone to her chest like an uneven, pulsing thing. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to be seen for the person she was, not for the roles she carried. But trust, once cracked, was a long thing to repair. She switched the phone off again and sat in the dark, wondering which version of him she'd been living with and which one she was now expected to answer to. Jennifer wanted distance. But the man she was trying to avoid had influence in every corner of her life, including the one place she thought was safe, her future. Jennifer spent the next few days doing what she did best, burying herself in work. Numbers were predictable. Numbers didn't lie. And numbers couldn't send 24 unanswered messages in a single evening. But David could. He tried everything. Calls, texts, voicemails that grew softer, quieter, more desperate. Jennifer ignored all of it. On Thursday morning, she walked into the office to find a massive bouquet of sunflowers sitting directly in the center of her desk. Their golden petals were bright enough to glow under the harsh office lights. Jennifer's heart sank. A small white card was tucked between the stems. "I remember everything you told me. D." She swallowed hard, pushing the flowers aside, trying to act as if her co-workers weren't openly watching her reaction. Patricia leaned over the cubicle wall, grinning. "Wow, Jen. Someone's got it bad. Who's the secret admirer?" "Just a friend," Jennifer muttered. But the sunflowers weren't the end. That afternoon, a message arrived from the local children's hospital confirming a donation made in Amy's name. The next day, a package showed up at Jennifer's apartment, a professional art kit, neatly packed with every supply a creative kid could dream of. A handwritten note sat inside. "For the future artist. Every dolphin deserves the right colors." Jennifer pressed the note to her chest. It wasn't just the gesture. It was the fact he remembered Amy's exact words from weeks ago. This wasn't manipulation. It was remorse. But she wasn't sure forgiveness could come that easily. That evening, her phone buzzed again, this time with a call from Monica. "Jen, please don't hang up," her best friend said immediately. "I know you're mad. And I know it's partly my fault." Jennifer rubbed her forehead. "Why wouldn't you tell me who he was?" "Because you're the only person I know who won't treat him like a walking bank account," Monica said softly. "He was tired of being a title, not a person. I wanted you to meet David, not David Harrison." Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. "And everything he said about himself is true," Monica added. "He didn't lie about anything except his last name. The hiking, the cooking disasters, all real." "Does that excuse it?" Jennifer whispered. "No," Monica said. "But it explains it." Jennifer ended the call with her mind tangled in equal parts hurt and understanding. The email that changed everything. Saturday morning, Jennifer woke early to the ping of a new message. Not a text. Not a call. An email. From David Harrison. Subject, a professional opportunity, not a personal one. Jennifer hesitated before opening it. The message was long. Thoughtful. Almost painfully formal. "Jennifer, I'm writing as someone who respects your work, not as someone trying to win your forgiveness. I have reviewed your performance over the years, long before our blind date. You are exceptional. Your strategic analyses have stood out repeatedly." Jennifer blinked. He had noticed her work long before he knew her personally. She kept reading. "There is an opening in our corporate strategy division. I believe you would excel there. The position reports to Victoria Chen, not to me, so there is no conflict of interest. I have informed her to evaluate candidates strictly on merit." "Then, don't let my mistakes be the reason you hold back your career. You deserve this chance. Professionally yours, David Harrison." Jennifer slowly lowered the phone. This wasn't romance. This wasn't manipulation. This was respect. Boundaries. A clear line between work and emotion. For the first time since everything unraveled, she felt something other than anger. She felt seen. Amy's wisdom. Amy shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "Mommy, why were you smiling at your phone?" Jennifer blinked. "Was I? Hum." Amy climbed onto her lap. "Is the prince coming back?" Jennifer laughed softly. "Baby, he isn't a prince." "But does he still make you smile?" Amy asked with serious eyes. Jennifer hesitated, then said the truth, softly. "Yes." "Then maybe you don't have to be scared," Amy said simply. "Teacher Robertson says grown-ups make things hard even when they're not." Jennifer hugged her daughter tightly. Maybe the world wasn't as complicated as she'd made it. The decision. By Monday morning, Jennifer walked into the towering Sterling Media Building with something she hadn't felt in weeks. Purpose. She rode the elevator to the 23rd floor, far above the accounting department she'd called home for 5 years. Victoria Chen greeted her with a firm handshake and sharp, intelligent eyes. "Ms. Hayes, I'm glad you reached out. I've been following your work for some time." "You have?" Jennifer asked, stunned. "Your analysis on the digital acquisition last quarter was brilliant," Victoria said. "I requested you for a project months ago, but your department head refused to release you." Jennifer felt her breath catch. This wasn't David's influence. This was her work, her ability, her potential. They talked for 2 hours. Case studies, strategic insights. Jennifer answered with clarity she didn't know she had. At the end, Victoria folded her hands and smiled. "I'd like to offer you the position." Jennifer felt tears prick her eyes. "I accept." Victoria nodded once. "Just one question. This role works closely with the CEO. Will that be a problem?" Jennifer straightened. "No," she said calmly. "I'm a professional." And for the first time, she truly believed it. Jennifer stepped into her new role in corporate strategy with a mix of nerves and electric excitement. Everything felt different up here. Sharper, faster, filled with the kind of energy that made decisions ripple across entire industries. Victoria Chen introduced her to the team, a group of analysts and strategists who spoke in forecasts and projections the way other people talked about weekend plans. "This is Jennifer Hayes," Victoria announced. "She'll be leading acquisition research and long-term market modeling." Jennifer blinked. Leading her. The room welcomed her warmly, and within minutes she was swept into a project workshop. Wall-size screens projected quarterly forecasts. Team members debated subscription patterns and viewer behavior like it was oxygen. Jennifer thrived instantly. She wasn't just following numbers anymore. She was shaping decisions, influencing direction, creating strategy. Work no longer felt like routine. It felt like purpose. David keeps his distance. For the next week, Jennifer didn't see David at all. Not in the elevators. Not in the cafe downstairs. Not even in email threads. He disappeared from her physical world like a ghost, honoring the boundaries she'd drawn with steel. The only hint he existed was the framed drawing Amy had made. Jennifer spotted it through the open door of his office one morning while passing by with Victoria. A tall stick figure labeled David, holding hands with Mommy and me. He'd placed it right on his desk, next to a stack of high-level reports. Jennifer's chest tightened, but she kept walking. The first project. On Thursday, Victoria approached her with a stack of documents. "I want you to prepare a proposal for next month's board review," she said. "Analyze potential podcast acquisitions and present your recommendation." Jennifer's pulse quickened. A board presentation. Already. Victoria smiled as if sensing her hesitation. "You're ready. Prove me right." Jennifer spent hours analyzing trends, building models, crafting a vision. She threw herself into the work with intensity she hadn't felt in years. The numbers danced for her, patterns revealing themselves like constellations. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was building something that mattered, something she was meant for. The text. That evening, she packed her laptop into her bag and headed toward the elevator. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She froze. It was only one line. "I heard about the strategy role. Congratulations. You earned it. D." Her fingers hovered. She shouldn't respond. Distance was safer, cleaner. But silence had become heavy, too heavy. Jennifer typed before she could talk herself out of it. "Thank you. And I think we need to talk. A real conversation." The reply came seconds later. "Name the time. Name the place. I'll be there." Her heart thudded. "Tomorrow night. Murphy's Diner. 7 p.m. Immediately. I'll come early." Jennifer exhaled shakily. She had spent days running, but she could not outrun the truth. There was more between them than anger, more than hurt, more than titles or scandals. Something real, something unfinished. The night before the talk, Jennifer tried to sleep, but her mind spun. What would she say? Would he apologize again? Would he expect forgiveness? Did she want to forgive him? Amy padded into her room around midnight, clutching her stuffed dolphin. "Mommy," she whispered sleepily, "can we see David again someday? I miss him." Jennifer pulled her daughter close. Tomorrow would decide everything, not just for her, but for Amy too. "Maybe," she murmured. "We'll see." Amy smiled. "He still feels like a prince." Jennifer kissed her forehead. If only life were that simple. If only love didn't feel like standing on a cliff she wasn't sure she should jump from. But tomorrow she'd find out if the fall might be worth it. She thought she was coming for closure. He thought he was coming to fix what broke. Neither realized this conversation would change everything. Murphy's Diner smelled like warm syrup, old coffee, and memories waiting to happen. Its cracked vinyl booths and flickering neon sign made it feel like the kind of place where people told the truth, because there was nowhere to hide. Jennifer arrived at 7 p.m. sharp. David was already there. He stood when she approached, looking nothing like the CEO she'd seen on her office floor. No tailored suit. No guarded posture. Just a man in a soft gray sweater, fingers nervously tapping the table, eyes searching for her the moment she stepped closer. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. Jennifer sat across from him, folding her hands to steady the tremor inside them. "We need honesty tonight. All of it." He nodded once. "You deserve that." The first question, and the first wound. Jennifer inhaled deeply. "Why didn't you tell me who you were? And don't say it was because you wanted to be normal." "I want the whole truth." David's jaw tightened, then softened. He looked down at his hands. 10 years ago, I married someone who loved the Harrison name more than she ever loved me." His voice was low, steady. "She had an affair with my business partner. It became a very public divorce. Reporters, investors, gossip sites, everyone had an opinion." He exhaled slowly. "After that, every woman I met saw my money first. My influence second. Me? Not at all." Jennifer watched him, not interrupting. "I'm not proud of it," he said. "But I stopped trusting my own judgment about people. I stopped dating. Stopped hoping." Jennifer felt the edges of her anger soften, but not disappear. "So you pretended to be someone else?" "No," he said quickly. "I never pretended. I told you everything true, except my last name. But that's the one thing that changes everything, David." He winced at the name, as if hearing it without coldness gave him permission to breathe again. "I know," he said. "And I should have told you sooner. Every time I tried, I got scared. Not of you, of losing something real for the first time in a decade." Her turn, and her fears. Jennifer leaned back, letting his words settle. "My ex-husband left when I was 6 months pregnant," she said quietly. "Said he wasn't ready for responsibility, for family. He never came back. Not once." David's expression shattered into disbelief and sorrow. "You did everything alone," he whispered. "Everything." She nodded, her voice thick. "I built a life from nothing. I sheltered Amy, protected her, raised her. And the idea of letting someone in again." Her voice cracked. "It terrifies me." He reached out, slowly, stopping just short of touching her hand. "I would never walk away from you. Or from Amy." Jennifer swallowed hard. "That's the problem," she said. I was starting to believe that. And then your identity blew up in my face in front of the entire office. A shadow of regret crossed his features. I'm sorry for that. For everything about that moment. The real question. Jennifer looked directly into his eyes. Why me, David? You're rich, powerful, you could date anyone. Why choose a single mom working in your accounting department? David didn't hesitate. Because you're real, he said simply. Because when you looked at me, you didn't see a title. Or a billion-dollar company. You saw a guy trying not to burn pasta. A surprised laugh escaped her. And because, he continued, voice softening, when you talk about Amy, the entire room warms. When you talk about your dreams, your eyes light up. And when you smile at me, I feel like myself again. Jennifer felt tears rise and blinked them back. They sat in silence, the good kind, the honest kind, until the waitress returned with 2 coffees and 2 slices of pie. His promise. David wrapped his hands around his mug, steadying himself. I'm not asking you to decide anything tonight, he said. If you want distance, I'll give it to you. If you want to be colleagues only, I'll respect that too. But I needed you to know how I feel. Jennifer's voice was barely a whisper. And how do you feel? His answer came without hesitation. I'm falling for you, he said simply. Hard. And for Amy too. Her breath caught. The shift. She stared into his face, really stared, and saw no CEO, no billionaire, no polished public figure. Just a man scared to lose something good. A man as vulnerable as she felt. Complete honesty from now on, Jennifer said quietly. No more secrets. None, David promised. You have my word. And David. Yes. I was starting to fall for you too. His breath hitched, a soft, quiet exhale of pure hope. The decision. Jennifer wiped a tear from her cheek. I'm willing to try, she said. Slowly. Carefully. But we can try. David's eyes softened into something warm and achingly grateful. You just made me the happiest man in this diner, he whispered. Jennifer laughed. And for the first time since the truth exploded in her office, she felt something she hadn't expected to feel again. Possibility. Trying again is brave. Letting someone into your child's world? That's courage on a different scale entirely. The next 2 weeks unfolded like a delicate dance, slow, intentional, and full of unspoken questions Jennifer was finally ready to ask. David didn't rush a single thing. He didn't show up unannounced. He didn't overstep. He didn't overwhelm. He texted gently, called softly, asked before assuming, respected every boundary she set. And Jennifer felt herself relaxing in ways she hadn't realized she'd been tense. Her new world at work. Corporate strategy became Jennifer's new home. The work challenged her, stretched her, made her feel alive in a way accounting never had. Her ideas were celebrated, not dismissed. Her contributions were sharp, bold, respected. Victoria pushed her, praised her, trusted her. Jennifer walked into every meeting with her shoulders back, not because of David, but because of her own merit. And David, he kept his distance. Completely professional. Completely silent when others were around. Just one warm glance whenever he saw her across a conference table. Brief, quick, hidden behind a CEO's composure. It felt like a secret flicker of sunlight only she could see. David and Jennifer, slowly building again. They went on quiet dinners. Talked about everything except work drama and money. Laughed about pasta disasters. Shared stories about childhood and dreams. Jennifer noticed something. He wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't trying to prove himself. He was simply being him. And that was enough. One evening, he asked gently, Jennifer, can I meet Amy properly? Not as a stranger. As someone who wants to be in both your lives. Her heart twisted. Fear, hope, love, all tangled. Yes, she said softly. But you need to understand, she's my whole world. David nodded. I know. And I'll treat that like treasure. The first real meeting. Amy was already excited, because Jennifer had told her David would be joining them for pizza night. She had spent the entire afternoon drawing dolphins to show him. When David walked into the apartment, Amy peeked from behind the couch with the shy curiosity of a child trying to decide if someone was safe. He crouched down to her level immediately. "Hi, Amy," he said with a warm smile. "I've heard you're an artist." Amy blinked. "You remembered?" "Of course I did. Can I see your drawings?" That was it. That was the moment Amy's walls crumbled. She ran to get her sketchbook and proudly spread page after page across the coffee table. Dolphins, whales, turtles, some abstract, some surprisingly accurate for a 7-year-old. David praised every single one with genuine awe. "You're amazing," he told her. "I think you might be better than half the artists our streaming studio hires." Amy preened like a sunflower finally given sunlight. Jennifer watched with her heart swelling. He didn't speak to Amy like a child. He spoke to her like she mattered. And Amy noticed. By the time pizza came, Amy had claimed David as her new drawing friend. She made him shape pepperoni like hearts. He pretended he had no idea how pizza toppings worked. Amy giggled until she hiccuped. Jennifer hadn't heard that sound in so long. The surprise outing. The next weekend, David arrived with a mysterious smile. "I have a surprise," he said. "But only if you both trust me." Amy jumped immediately. "I trust you. Mommy trusts you too." Jennifer gave him a look. He shrugged innocently. Majority vote. They drove an hour outside the city until a large marine research facility appeared ahead. Jennifer blinked. "What is this?" David grinned. "Amy, remember when you told me dolphins make you happy?" Amy's gasp echoed across the parking lot. The private tour was like stepping into every child's ocean dream. Amy touched a dolphin's nose. She squealed when it splashed her. She asked a dozen questions a minute, and David listened to every single one like they were the most important questions in the world. Jennifer watched him, really watched, as he held Amy's tiny hand, guided her gently, protected her without hovering. She felt something shift in her chest. A soft unlocking. A quiet yes she had been holding tightly behind her ribs. On the car ride home, Amy fell asleep with a stuffed dolphin tucked under her arm. Jennifer whispered, "Thank you." That meant everything to her. "And to me," David said softly. "Seeing her happy, that made my whole month." Jennifer leaned forward, kissed him with the gratitude and affection she'd been holding back. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he murmured. "I know it soon, but I do. I love you, Jennifer. I'm falling in love with Amy too." Jennifer felt tears rise. "I love you too," she whispered. "Even when it scares me." He kissed her again, this time slow, warm, certain. And Jennifer realized something she'd been afraid to admit. This wasn't a second chance. It was the beginning of a life she never dared imagine. Jennifer was finally finding her place in the boardroom. But David was about to reveal something that could change the shape of both their futures. The next few months unfolded with a smooth rhythm Jennifer had never experienced before. Success at work, peace at home, and a blooming love that grew with every shared moment. It felt like her life was finally aligning into something solid, something she could trust. But life had a way of testing people right when they began to feel safe. The big presentation. Jennifer's first major assignment in corporate strategy arrived sooner than expected, presenting her analysis for the company's expansion into the booming podcasting market. A board presentation. The word alone made her palms sweat. Victoria spent days preparing her, pushing her through mock Q&A sessions and challenging every assumption in her charts. "You're not here to repeat numbers," Victoria said. "You're here to show vision." By the time presentation day arrived, Jennifer felt as ready as she could be, still nervous, but steady. She stepped into the boardroom with her laptop tucked under her arm and her heart pounding in her throat. David sat at the head of the table, every inch the CEO. Cold, professional, untouchable. But when she entered, his eyes flicked to her, warm, proud, just for a second. He hid it instantly, but she caught it. And it was enough. Jennifer delivered her presentation with a confidence that surprised even her. When the board asked tough questions, she answered clearly. When they challenged her ideas, She defended them with data and logic. She wasn't a woman trying to survive anymore. She was a woman rising. At the end, several board members nodded approvingly. "Excellent work, Ms. Hayes," one said. "Impressive insight," another added. David spoke last, formally, evenly. "Strong work. Thank you, Ms. Hayes." But when everyone else left the room and the door clicked shut, his expression transformed. He stepped closer, voice low with pride. "You were extraordinary," he said. "I knew you would be." Jennifer's chest warmed. "Thank you for treating me like everyone else in that room." "I didn't," he murmured. "I was holding back every instinct to stand and clap." She laughed softly, but the moment was brief. Because David looked nervous. "A rare sight. Pack an overnight bag," he said. "There's somewhere I want to take you tonight." "Just you?" "Amy is already with Mrs. Patterson." Jennifer raised an eyebrow. "What's going on?" He smiled, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Something I've needed to tell you for a while. The getaway." He drove them to a quiet inn overlooking the Hudson Valley, a place wrapped in trees, soft light, and gentle silence. Their room had a private balcony, a river view, and a small fireplace that crackled softly. Jennifer slipped off her heels. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "Not as beautiful as what I'm about to give you," he said quietly. Her breath caught. He was acting different. Uneasy. Hopeful. Scared. "David, what's going on?" He took her hands and guided her to the balcony under a sky full of stars. "I've been keeping something from you," he said at last. Jennifer's heart dropped. "Another secret?" "No." He shook his head. "Nothing like that. It's just something I needed to face before I told you." He took a deep breath. "Before I met you, I was ready to quit everything." Jennifer stared. "What?" "I mean all of it. The company. The board. The money. The pressure." He looked out at the river. "I was drowning, Jennifer. Everyone thinks being a CEO is glamorous, but it's lonely. Everyone wants something. Everyone calculates. Everyone expects." His voice cracked, just slightly. "And then, you." She felt tears prick her eyes. "You and Amy made me feel alive again. Like life was something more than meetings and contracts." He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Jennifer's breath caught. Her hand flew to her chest. "David, I'm not ready for—" "I know," he said quickly, opening the box. "I'm not asking you to marry me." Inside wasn't a ring. It was a delicate gold necklace with two interlocking circles, one larger, one smaller, connected by a tiny golden thread. Jennifer's eyes filled. "It's beautiful." "Two circles," he said softly. "You and Amy. The thread connecting them." He swallowed. "I want to be worthy of that place. Not to replace anything in your life. Not to take over. But to support you. To protect you. To walk beside you, if you'll let me." Jennifer lifted the necklace with trembling hands. A tiny engraving shimmered on the back. Strength. Courage. Love. Her voice broke. "David, that's what I see in you," he whispered. "And that's what I want to build with you. I don't need an answer about marriage. Not now, not next year. I just want you to know my heart, where it is, where it's staying." Jennifer pressed a shaking hand to her lips. Emotion swelled so thick in her chest she could barely speak. "I want a future with you too," she said finally. "Not tomorrow. But someday." His relief was immediate. Warm. Overwhelming. "Someday is perfect," he murmured. He fastened the necklace around her neck. The gold rested right over her heart, fitting, symbolic, safe. Then she pulled him into a kiss filled with everything they hadn't yet said out loud. Hope, fear, love, promise. For the first time in her life, Jennifer didn't feel like she was waiting for disaster. She felt like she was walking toward something real. Something she deserved. Something hers. Sometimes a single drawing can reveal a truth that adults spend years afraid to say out loud. When Jennifer and David returned from their weekend getaway, Amy was waiting at the door before they even knocked. "Mommy!" "David!" she squealed, launching herself straight into David's arms like she'd been practicing it all day. David caught her easily, lifting her with a soft laugh. "Well, hello, Miss Dolphin Expert." Amy giggled and wrapped her tiny arms around his neck as if she had always belonged there. Jennifer watched them, a warm, quiet ache filling her chest. Hope, love, fear, all woven into one fragile, beautiful thread. Pizza night and a big announcement. That evening, sprawled around the coffee table with boxes of pizza they didn't bother plating, Amy bounced on her knees. "I have something to show you," she said, eyes sparkling. David leaned in. "Does it have dolphins?" "Nope. It's better." She ran to her backpack and returned with a piece of pink construction paper folded carefully in half. "I made this at school on Friday," she said proudly. "Teacher Robertson told us to draw our families." Jennifer felt her heart squeeze. Amy unfolded the paper. In the center was a stick figure with long brown hair labeled Mommy. Next to it, a small grinning figure labeled Me. And on the other side, taller, carrying what looked like a briefcase, was a figure labeled David. Jennifer's breath stilled. David froze. Then Amy, suddenly unsure, whispered, "Is it okay that I put David in our family picture?" Jennifer's eyes filled instantly. She pulled her daughter close. "It's more than okay, sweetheart. It's perfect." David looked at the drawing like it was a priceless artifact, as if Amy had gifted him something he didn't know he needed. His voice was soft, thick with emotion. "Amy, could I keep this? To put in my office?" Her eyes went wide. "Really? Even though it's just a kid drawing?" David shook his head gently. "It's not just anything. It's the most important thing anyone has ever given me." Jennifer swallowed hard. She had seen powerful men moved by stock prices, mergers, and board votes. But she'd never seen one undone by a child's drawing. A new kind of routine. Over the next few months, something steady began to form, a rhythm Jennifer had never expected to experience. David became part of their world. Not by force. Not by replacing anything. Just by showing up. For school mornings when Jennifer was running late. For pizza nights and silly movies. For Amy's small victories, spelling tests, new drawings, lost teeth. Amy adored him. Not because of his money, she still had no real concept of what a billionaire was. But because he listened to her. He cared about her stories. He remembered everything she said. He made her mom laugh. And Jennifer. She found herself falling deeper, too. It was in the little things. How he always carried an extra snack for Amy. How he asked about Jennifer's day before his own. How he supported her career without ever using his power to interfere. He wasn't trying to fix her life. He was becoming part of it. Talking about the future. One evening, after Amy had fallen asleep during a movie, Jennifer curled into David's side on the couch. "I've been thinking," she murmured. His hand paused on her arm. "About what?" "About the future," she admitted. "Amy's school, my job. Maybe someday." She hesitated. "Someday?" he asked gently. "Maybe having another child." David's breath caught, a quiet, stunned inhalation. "With me," he whispered. Jennifer smiled softly. "With the right person. And yes, with you." His eyes shone with a tenderness that almost broke her. "I would love that," he said, voice thick with emotion. "More than anything." They talked for hours after that. Dreams, plans, possibilities. Not rushing. Not demanding. Just imagining. And for the first time in a long time, Jennifer let herself imagine a life where she wasn't carrying everything alone. His decision. One night, David arrived at Jennifer's apartment looking thoughtful, almost too quiet. "Everything okay?" she asked. He took her hands gently. "I want to make room in my life," he said. "Real room. For you and Amy." Jennifer frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said with a slow breath, "I'm stepping back from the day-to-day CEO role. I've already begun looking for a COO to replace some of my workload. I want a life that isn't swallowed by work. I want nights at home. Weekends with you. Time that isn't borrowed. Jennifer stared at him in shock. You'd do that? He smiled. I'm not giving up my career. I'm choosing balance. I'm choosing family. He squeezed her hands. I'm choosing us. Jennifer felt overwhelmed, humbled, loved in a way she had never known. Amy, sleepily wandering into the hallway at that exact moment, blinked at them. Are we having family kisses again? She asked. David laughed, scooping her up. Yes, Miss Dolphin, we are. Jennifer watched the two of them, her daughter curled against the man who loved her without hesitation, and realized something simple, something powerful. This wasn't temporary. This wasn't fragile. This was becoming a family. David wasn't just ready for the next step. He'd been planning it from the moment he realized he didn't just love Jennifer. He loved the life they were building together. Spring arrived carrying sunlight, soft breezes, and the feeling that everything in Jennifer's life had finally settled into the right place. Work was thriving. Amy was blooming. And David, he was no longer a distant CEO. He was part of their mornings, their dinners, their laughter, their quiet moments. Jennifer often caught herself watching him with Amy. How gently he guided her, how proudly he displayed her drawings, how patient he was with her endless dolphin facts. She had loved him before. But watching him love her daughter, that was the moment she realized she would love him for the rest of her life. The boardroom triumph. 3 months later, Jennifer was preparing to lead her biggest presentation yet, the long-term expansion plan for Harrison Media's digital platform. She worked late nights, ran numbers twice, practiced answers with Victoria. The morning of the presentation, she walked into the boardroom with steady steps. David sat at the head of the table, CEO posture, professional calm, but eyes softening for a fraction of a second when they met hers. She presented flawlessly, clear, confident, unshakable. When the meeting ended, David addressed her formally. Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Strong work. But when everyone else filed out and they were alone, he let out a breath and smiled. You were incredible, he said quietly. I'm so proud of you. Jennifer glowed with the kind of confidence she had fought years to earn. Thank you for treating me like every other employee, she said. You earned that respect long before I ever knew you, he replied. His words warmed her more deeply than she expected. The getaway redux. That weekend, David planned a short trip to the Hudson Valley, another quiet escape, just the two of them. They arrived at a historic estate overlooking the river, the same place where he had given her the necklace with the interlocking circles. Jennifer smiled as she touched the pendant at her throat. Back where it started, she said softly. No, David whispered, brushing her cheek. Back where I realized you were my future. They spent the evening talking by the fireplace, sipping wine, laughing about Amy's latest school adventure. But there was something different about him tonight. A tension. A steady, nervous energy. Jennifer finally asked, David, what is it? He inhaled deeply. Jennifer, there's something I want to ask you. Something I've wanted to ask for a while. Her heart stuttered. He brought her to the balcony under the moonlit sky. The proposal. David took both her hands, steadying himself. I used to think my life was complete, he said softly. Company, success, money, things people chase without really knowing why. He shook his head. But I didn't understand real joy until I met you. And I didn't understand real purpose until I met Amy. Jennifer felt her throat close. You two changed everything for me. The way I work, the way I live, the way I want my future to look. He reached into his jacket pocket. This time, it was a ring box. Jennifer gasped. David opened it slowly, revealing a breathtaking ring, simple, elegant, a single shimmering stone surrounded by a delicate gold band. Jennifer Hayes, he said, voice trembling. Will you marry me? Not because I want to rescue you. Not because I want to be your boss. But because I want to be your partner in everything. Your life, your joy, your challenges, your future. He swallowed thickly. And because I already love that little girl like she's my own. Jennifer covered her mouth with her hands as tears spilled freely. Yes, she whispered. Then louder. Yes, David. Yes. He slipped the ring onto her finger, pulled her into a kiss that felt like a vow, and held her until the stars blurred. The wedding. A new family. 6 months later, under a perfect spring sky, Jennifer walked down the aisle of a historic garden estate. She wore the gold necklace David had given her, the two interlocking circles resting right over her heart. Amy walked ahead of her as the flower girl, scattering petals with dramatic flair and whispering loudly to guests. "I told Mommy he was a prince." David waited at the altar, eyes shining with awe and love so pure she had to blink to keep from crying. The ceremony was small, intimate, filled with people who mattered. Victoria stood as one of Jennifer's bridesmaids, proud and radiant. Monica delivered a tearful toast about arranging the best blind date in history. When it was time for vows, David's voice broke as he spoke. "I promise to see you for who you truly are. Not just the brilliant strategist, not just the loving mother, but the woman who gave me my life back." Jennifer wiped tears as she whispered her own vow. "And I promise to love you without fear, to trust you without walls, and to walk beside you as a partner, equal, honest, and yours." When David kissed her, Amy cheered louder than everyone else combined. The moment after, as they danced beneath glowing lights, David leaned close and whispered, "Thank you for giving the ordinary man a chance." Jennifer smiled through happy tears. "You were never ordinary," she murmured. "Not to me. Not to Amy. You were exactly what we needed, even before we knew it." David tightened his arms around her. "I'm never going anywhere," he whispered. And Jennifer believed him. For the first time in her life, she believed in a forever that felt real. Happily ever after isn't a moment. It's the everyday choice to love, grow, and stay, even when life becomes bigger than you ever imagined. Marriage didn't magically smooth every edge of life, but it made the edges easier to hold. Jennifer woke the morning after the wedding with sunlight warming the sheets and David's arm wrapped securely around her waist. For the first time in her adult life, she didn't feel like she was carrying everything alone. She felt partnered, loved, chosen. Amy barreled into the room minutes later in her pajamas, declaring, "Mommy, did you know you're a wife now? And David is officially part of our family." David scooped her up with a laugh. "I was hoping someone would tell me the rules." Amy tapped his nose. "Rule number 1, you can't burn water anymore." It became their first family joke. A home that felt like a beginning. They moved into a townhouse on a quiet street just outside the city. Amy finally had her own art room, walls covered in paper, paints, and dolphin posters. David set up an office downstairs, and right above the desk he hung the framed family drawing Amy had made, the one with the 3 stick figures holding hands. Every time Jennifer saw it, her heart melted anew. Meals became chaotic, wonderful events. David attempting to cook more complicated dishes, Amy supervising, Jennifer laughing at both of them. Life wasn't fairy tale perfect, but it was theirs, and that made it perfect enough. David becomes Dad without asking for the title. David slowly shifted into his new COO-supported role, working fewer nights, taking weekends off, choosing family over non-stop grind. He attended Amy's school art shows, helped with homework, learned the difference between bottlenose and spinner dolphins. Because Amy insisted. One night, Jennifer overheard Amy whisper while David tucked her in, "Can I tell my class you're my extra dad?" Jennifer held her breath. David gently brushed Amy's hair back. "You can call me anything that makes you happy," he said softly. "And I will always be here for you. Always." Amy smiled. "Then you're my extra dad." Jennifer cried quietly in the hallway. Some titles weren't given. They were earned. Jennifer's biggest career moment. A year into her strategy role, Jennifer led the most important presentation of her career, the company's 5-year digital transformation plan. Her slide deck sparkled with insights. Her voice was steady. Her ideas were bold. When the presentation ended, the room burst into conversation, executives praising the clarity, the innovation, the future she'd mapped. Victoria beamed at her. But the moment that made Jennifer's breath catch was when David, formal, composed, careful, addressed the board. "Ms. Harrison, He paused, correcting himself instinctively. Ms. Hayes has provided one of the most forward-thinking strategies this board has seen. Her leadership is an asset to this company. Jennifer felt her heart flutter. He hadn't said those words as her husband. He said them as her CEO, recognizing her in front of the entire leadership team. Later, when they were alone, he whispered with pride, "You're unstoppable. I'm just lucky I married you before someone else recruited you." Jennifer laughed. "You didn't marry me for my market insights." He pulled her close. "No, but I'd marry you for them too." A family grows. 2 years after the wedding, on a quiet Sunday morning, Jennifer sat beside David on the couch while Amy colored dolphins on the floor. Jennifer took his hand. "David, I'm late." He blinked. "Late for what?" She smiled softly. "For everything." Slow recognition dawned on his face. Shock, hope, joy, all blooming at once. "Are you saying?" She nodded. David pressed his forehead to hers, voice breaking. "I didn't think I could be this happy twice in one lifetime." Amy looked up from her drawing. "What's happening? Why are you hugging weird?" David laughed through tears. "Because, sweetheart, your family is getting bigger." Amy squealed. "Another baby dolphin?" Jennifer laughed. "Something like that." They hugged in a messy, beautiful pile on the couch. The kind of moment that would be remembered not for its perfection but for its sincerity. The final moment, years later. On the anniversary of their first blind date, Jennifer and David returned to the same coffee shop on Fifth Avenue. Jennifer wore the necklace he'd given her years earlier. The two interlocking circles that had become the symbol of their family. David placed his hand over it gently. "Funny," he murmured. "I walked through that door thinking it was just another blind date." "And I walked in thinking you were just a finance guy who burned water," she teased. He kissed her forehead. "And now?" Jennifer looked around. At their toddler asleep in the stroller. At Amy sketching dolphins in a notebook. At the man who had turned her life into something she once didn't believe she deserved. "Now," she whispered, "I know that blind date was the beginning of everything extraordinary." David smiled, soft, knowing, full of the love that built their life. "You gave an ordinary man a chance," he said. Jennifer took his hand. "You were never ordinary. Not the day we met. Not ever." And as they walked out of the cafe, hand in hand, children chattering beside them, she knew with absolute certainty. Love didn't save her. She saved herself. Love simply walked beside her, exactly when she was ready for it.